So I want to talk real quick about what's going on in California with Trump calling up the National Guard to use against American citizens. Now, I have family over this weekend. We have a lot of things going on, graduation and so forth. I'm not really paying attention to the news. I know what's going on, but I haven't been able to really dig deep and really understand the nuances and all the facts on the ground of what's going on. And when I don't know all the facts, I don't know the details, because the details matter. If we're talking about legal and constitutional issues, the details are really important. And because I am not fully up to date on all of that, I'm not going to offer an opinion on all of that, but I do want to take a moment to say this about the Insurrection Act, because that's obviously being talked about and invoked. Here's my problem. To the extent that this or any other president can use the Insurrection Act against American citizens in a wholly inappropriate way is the fault of Congress. We've been talking about this a lot lately, specifically with respect to tariffs, but here's a real big deal. The Insurrection Act. And just as an aside, I've explained this before, invocation of the Insurrection Act is not martial law. Martial law is something different. It's military control over the civilian population, replacing civilian political governance with military rule. That's what martial law is. The Insurrection Act is not martial law, but it's a serious thing, obviously. The problem with the Insurrection Act, which is a very old law, is that it gives the president, there's various ways it can be invoked, different circumstances and so forth, but a president is given broad discretion, unreviewable by the courts. It gives the president the sole discretion to determine whether or not the conditions which would justify use of the Insurrection Act exist. So it's completely up to the president. No review by the courts. Congress has no role. Gave away all this authority, essentially empowering a president to use the military against the civilian population with no checks and balances of any kind. That was written into federal law, passed by Congress a long time ago. But here's the thing. Congress, at any time since this abominable act was passed, could have changed it, could have amended it, could have repealed it altogether. Every single Congress that has existed since the passage of the Insurrection Act, in my view, is responsible for the Insurrection Act being in place today, because any Congress could have repealed it. And we've had lots of opportunities over the years to have done it, but it's never even been talked about. It's never even been tried. And to me, that's unforgivable, to have a law like that on the books. And we know this Republican Party, certainly with this president, don't want to repeal it. But just generally speaking, over the years, for this horrible law that empowers the president to use the military against civilians in this country, on the streets of America, with no checks and balances, no judicial review, for that law to be on the books, and no Congress, no party try to repeal it, makes me sick. And so here we are. And now we have an authoritarian, wannabe dictator, the most lawless, corrupt, criminal president in all of American history, now given this statutory power to use the military against American citizens on the streets of this country, given that power by Congress. Makes me freaking sick. So anyways, I'm sure I'll have more to say about this later. Hope you enjoy your weekend. I'll talk to you again soon.